Water. It's our lifeline, right? We use it every single day, often without a second thought. But have you ever stopped to wonder about its incredible journey after we're done with it? Well, today we're going to dive into this hidden world and follow the story of wastewater. Think about it. You turn on the tap, wash your hands, do the dishes, flush the toilet, and the water just vanishes. It's gone. For us, that's kind of the end of the story. But for the water itself, that's just the beginning of a massive, super complex journey. So where does it actually go? To start this journey, we've got to get on the same page about what we're even talking about. So let's get a really clear picture of what wastewater truly is. To put it simply, wastewater is any water that's been changed by us. The second it goes down the drain from your kitchen sink, your washing machine, or the bathroom at work, it becomes wastewater. Why? Because now it's carrying a whole mix of new stuff, pollutants. Now, you've probably heard the term sewage. And yeah, it's related. Sewage is really just a specific type of wastewater. It's the stuff that comes from our homes, everything from the shower to the toilet. And here's something most people don't think about. It also includes rainwater that's picked up all sorts of gunk, like oils and dirt, as it runs down our streets. So what's actually mixed in with all that water? Well, it's a complex cocktail, to say the least. You've got organic stuff like human and animal waste, inorganic things like nitrates and metals, and nutrients like phosphorus. And crucially, it is absolutely teeming with bacteria and other microbes, some of which can cause really serious diseases like cholera and typhoid. It's this complex and potentially dangerous mix that makes treating it so absolutely essential. Okay, so the wastewater has left your house. Now what? Well, it enters this massive, unseen system. The best way to think about it is like a hidden river, a whole network of arteries flowing right underneath our cities. This hidden network is called the sewage system. It's made up of countless interconnected pipes that we call sewers. Their one and only job is to transport all of that wastewater from thousands of homes and buildings to a single, central location for a major cleanup, the wastewater treatment plant. And this is where the main event happens. The wastewater arrives at a wastewater treatment plant. You might see it abbreviated as WWTP. This place is where the water goes through a multi-stage gauntlet, a sort of purification obstacle course to get cleaned up. The treatment process isn't just one simple step. It's a really carefully designed sequence. We're going to walk through the 5 big stages: screening, grit and sand removal, sedimentation, aeration, and finally chlorination. Let's break down what happens at each stop along the way. First up is screening. Imagine a giant kitchen strainer. As the wastewater flows into the plant, it goes through these huge bar screens that catch all the large, obvious junk: rags, plastic bottles, sticks, you name it. It's the first and most basic physical cleaning step, just to get the big stuff out of the way. All right, once the big objects are gone, the process deals with the smaller, heavier stuff. The water is moved into a special tank where the flow is slowed way down. This change in speed lets all the heavy particles like sand, grit, and tiny pebbles naturally settle to the bottom, where they can be collected and removed. The next stage is sedimentation. The water is left to just sit in a large, quiet tank for several hours. And here, gravity does all the work. The heavier solid organic waste, like feces, settles at the bottom, and that forms what we call sludge. At the same time, lighter things like oil and grease float to the top, forming a layer of scum. The scum gets skimmed off, and the sludge gets scraped away. But here's the really cool part. That sludge can be used to produce biogas, which can then be used to generate electricity. Now we get to the biological phase. The water, which is a lot clearer now, moves into an aeration tank. Air is bubbled through it, which is basically like rolling out the red carpet for good bacteria. These helpful microbes are the real workhorses of the plant. They just consume all the remaining dissolved organic waste still left in the water, essentially eating the pollution. And finally, we get to the last safety check. Even after all those steps, there could still be harmful, invisible microbes hanging around. So the water is disinfected, usually with chlorine. This step kills any remaining dangerous bacteria and makes the water safe enough to be released back into the environment, like a river or the ocean. The purification journey is complete. But, that whole complex system is for cities and towns that are all connected to a central sewerage system. What happens in more rural or remote places? Well, there are some very clever on-site solutions for that. This shows 3 common on-site systems, and each one has its own specialty. First, you've got septic tanks. These are really common in homes that aren't on a city sewer line. It's basically an underground tank where bacteria break down the waste over time. Then there are composting pits. These are fantastic for places with little water. They're dry toilets that turn waste into valuable compost. And finally, chemical toilets. You've definitely seen these at festivals or construction sites. They use chemicals in a sealed tank to handle the waste until it can be collected. Speaking of alternative systems, here's a fun one. Ever wonder what happens when you flush the toilet on an airplane? They don't just drop it out of the sky. No way. They use a powerful vacuum system to suck waste into a special holding tank right there on the plane. And once the plane lands, that tank is safely emptied by a ground crew into the local sewer system. So we've seen this massive, complex, and often invisible effort that goes into cleaning our water. And this brings the whole story right back to where it started, with us. We all play a role in making this crucial system work. So why does all this matter so much? It comes down to public health. Poor sanitation and contaminated drinking water are the direct cause of a huge number of devastating diseases. When wastewater isn't treated properly, it can lead to deadly outbreaks of things like cholera and typhoid. Effective wastewater treatment is quite literally a lifesaver. And we can all help protect this system. It's powerful, but it's not invincible, and our daily habits have a huge impact. Simple things make a huge difference. Never, ever pour fats or oils down the drain. They cool and harden and create massive clogs. And don't dump chemicals like paint or solvents. They're toxic and can kill those helpful bacteria we rely on at the treatment plant. The best place for all that stuff? In a sealed container in the trash. So after following the entire hidden journey of our water, from the drain, through the dark labyrinth of sewers, all the way through that intense purification process, it leaves us with a question to ponder. Is clean water just a right we demand, something we expect to always have? Or is it also a shared responsibility that we all have to actively protect? Something to think about the next time you turn on that tap.